I'm a professional golfer, and here is an all-inclusive plan on how to prepare for a golf tournament that I made for one of my online coaching students. We divided this prep list into three sections: the lead up to the tournament, the practice round just before the tournament, and then the tournament day itself. So in the lead up, I wanted him to try and access a launch monitor somewhere. So there's a lot of indoor studios around nowadays. Go and find an indoor studio with a TrackMan or a quad or something similar, or even a Toptracer range if it's accurate enough. Do a yardage check, so know how far you hit your clubs and make a little chart for it. Remove any outliers, so significantly long or short shots compared to what I'd consider normal, and make sure you're swinging at a course speed. You're not just smashing balls as hard as you can because you're on a driving range or into a simulator screen and there's no consequence. You need to swing the same speed you would on course. Then I wanted to test his driver dispersion, so I wanted him to hit 30 balls and then remove the 5 widest shots and then work out how far left and right they are from each other. So generally a dispersion pattern, if you're aiming here, will be somewhat around 60, 65 yards wide. So, if you aim at that midpoint, you can go 30 yards right or left of that pretty much any time. Your bigger misses, those widest 5, you can't defend against those very well, of course, management, so you just have to let them go. Then I wanted him to do a wedge chart, so half, three-quarter, full swings with the wedges, or whether it's to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, whichever suits you. But that gives you a baseline then to work on. So for instance, if you know a three-quarter sand wedge goes 90 yards and you have 94 yards, it's just over a three-quarter sand wedge. Then in his practice, I wanted it to look much more performance-based. So performance practice meaning you're trying to get the ball to go to a specific target. There might be an imaginary fairway out in the driving range, or it might be a certain practice green, or you might be trying to hit an exact wedge number, but your practice is outcome-based and less thinking about your technique and how you're actually moving. So then going into the practice round, I wanted him to start off on the putting green, doing some speed control work, so finding the longest, flattest putt he could, and then practicing from, anywhere between 5 and 40 feet or so, really trying to dial in the speed of those greens and get used to how fast they are. Then I wanted him to go to the short game area with 3 golf balls and hit a low, medium and high shot from lots of random different points around the greens, around the short game area. And the whole idea is, A, you're trying to develop your imagination by potentially hitting the wrong shot for that scenario, but you're also going to see how is the ball landing? Is it landing firm or soft? Is it spinning? Is it checking? Or is it releasing? You're getting used to how the ball's reacting to these different shots when it lands on the greens at the golf course you're going to be playing. Then I wanted him to Google Earth the tee shots to try and predict where his start lines are going to be, and then test that when he gets out on the golf course. So he's got an idea of where he's going to be going before he goes out and plays, and he's just reaffirming that as he plays the tournament practice round. Then I want him to look at where the likely misses are going to be for his short game. So the example I gave was this. This is the green here in the middle, and there's water short and there's rough long. So obviously you're going to be doing everything you can to avoid the water short, which means you're probably going to be taking an extra club, which means you are going to have a tendency to miss this green long. So I would go and stand in this rough long and then practice chipping back, because that's a likely chip you will face in the tournament. So just think as you're going around looking at these greens, where am I likely to need to chip from? Where am I going to do everything I can to avoid? Because, that's a guaranteed drop shot regardless. Then on the tournament day, obviously he's going to have to go for his warm-up. I recommended that he tried any key shots he might need. So if there's certain holes that require a particular shot shape, so a fade or a draw off the tee maybe, or he knows he's going to hit a lot of 2-irons, or any shot that you think is going to be important for you to have, make sure you incorporate that into your warm-up. Then on the putting green, just create a 4-foot circle around the hole with about 10 balls and practice holding them out so you get used to all the different breaks when you're holding out. Then do some speed control work to check the speed of the greens, because they might have changed when they've mown them overnight between the practice round and the tournament round. So you want to make sure you're aware of that. And then obviously bunkers and short game shots, same thing as this, probably 3 balls and going and practicing again. Then while he's on the golf course, which is this extra kind of boxed off bit, I want him to be aware that the biggest separator between good and bad scores is not how many birdies you make, but it's how many bogeys and doubles you can avoid. So when he gets out of position, he's got to be thinking, avoid the double. How do I avoid the double? So rather than taking any risk, say punching through trees with a risky shot to try and save the par, just accept you've got to go out sideways, make your bogey, but avoid the double. And then mentally, I find it's really helpful to ask, what can I do right now? So whatever's going on, that question is always a good one to ask yourself. So you could be really nervous because you're 3 or 4 under par and you're like flying and you're leading the tournament. What can I do right now? Well, the next tee shot requires a 3-wood aimed at so-and-so bunker. So I'm going to do everything I can to commit to hitting this 3-wood at the corner of that bunker. That's what I can do right now. Or it doesn't matter if you're living in the past, you've made a triple, you've just hit a shot into the rough, or you're out of position. Don't worry about what's got you there. It's already gone. What can you do right now is a very good question to keep asking yourself.